I don't have children, so I have not been too many responsibilities.
That's good.
Unmute. Hello, everyone who's joined so far. We are pulling everybody together, moving all the appropriate people over so that they can speak, and we will be starting momentarily. Thanks.
Hello, how are you? Good. All right.
Hello, all. For those that are listening, we are still waiting for a couple gentlemen. I'm trying to let everyone know. So everyone, we are waiting for at least one more member before we can start. So if you all could wait patiently, thank you so much.
Hey, Danny, this is Zach. Are you on?
Hey, Zach, this is Mara. We have not started yet because we are still waiting for one more board member in addition to you. So we will mute it momentarily until we have the last board member available.
Thank you, Mara.
Thank you.
Okay. No. No, I've been a number of
Hello, everyone. I know a couple additional people came on. We are currently waiting for one more board member who we saw on earlier and then left again. He might be having some technical difficulties. As soon as we get our last 5th member, we will start back up.
Who is it? Well, okay. Well, hmm. Yes. I'm having trouble understanding. Okay. I hope I'm not the one that's the problem. I thought I was there. Well, I don't. No, I don't. I don't. But
Hello, everyone. This is Mara Perry, Director of Planning and Development. We were waiting for a fifth member who has not, was on and then has been moved back off again, and we have not been able to get a hold of him. We can definitely continue to have the meeting, but we do need to let the applicant know that if we move forward with only 4 members instead of 5, you will need all 4 votes in favor in order for this to move forward. I'm going to unmute or allow to talk both the applicant and his representative. So Jim and Gary, if you want to unmute yourselves.
And hi, Jim Boleski here.
Hi, Jim. We can hear you.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, this is Zach Wood.
Oh, hi, Zach. Are we supposed to be seeing each other yet?
I think they have video turned off currently.
Okay.
So it sounds like what we have going on is that we have 4 board members here in whatever capacity that means, and we have one who seems to be having some technical difficulties, was in the Zoom meeting and now has dropped out, and we can't figure out why they can't get back in. So as you know, Jim, but we want to make sure it's clear to the applicant that we can proceed with a quorum of 4 board members, but obviously you'd need a unanimous vote in order to pass on each variance. So that's something that we want to make sure everybody understands before we start proceedings when we only have 4 members.
Could not we have the proceedings, but then before we go into executive session, the petitioner could ask that it be held?
Yeah, we've done that in the past, Debbie. So that is always an option. I think that may give you some indication of where the board members are in terms of their questioning. But again, it's the same overall risk and strategy. And I think if we had an additional board member come on later, I'm just sort of thinking if we'd have to sort of rehash things or not, but that's definitely a good option. Thank you for raising it, Debbie.
I guess I have a question. Which board member is missing?
Well, and I'd like to ask a question myself. Am I there? I'm Randy Sprague. I believe that I am, and I think that I'm in this meeting, and I hope I'm not the person missing.
No, Randy, you are here.
Okay, good.
Excellent.
Hi,
So
Randy.
what I see on my screen is that we have, I'm Zach Wood, so I'm in attendance. And you can see when you click on the bottom of your screen, you'll see a participants icon. If you're on a laptop, it can be a different interface if you're on others, but it'll give you a list. So Debbie Sahlberg is on, and then I know in the room we have Tom, right?
Okay.
And so I'm trying to see that what I see is Webster Groves, Sprague, WG user.
Yes, and I see the same thing, and now it makes sense to me. I'm just not, I've done a lot of these Zoom meetings, and this is a little unique, but I understand it completely, and as long as I know who I'm dealing with, we're all here, so this is great.
Yeah. No,
So Zach, this is Danny Gendusa.
Yeah.
Um,
Hold on,
a
Danny,
second.
you might want to mute.
We have some feedback issues we've gotten taken care of. So this is Danny Gendusa, the planner at City Hall. Right now, as you said, we have Zach as our chair. We have Debbie Solberg. We have Randy Sprague, and we have BJ Popilo. He's in City Hall with us right now. But we are missing Tom Waltz.
Okay, gotcha.
But as was described, if the applicant wishes to proceed with the meeting with just 4 members, we can do so. And the city attorney has said that before we move into executive session, they could choose to postpone to next month if they are wanting to wait for a 5th member so that they aren't required to get all 4 attendees tonight.
Has anyone made a phone call to Tom Waltz?
We have called both his home and cell, but not gotten through. He did say he had no problems with it earlier today, but maybe something's happened.
Right. Well, I think we're willing to proceed.
This is Mara. Hey, that's okay. I saw you in earlier, and then you.
All right, it sounds like Mara has gotten in touch with Tom, and so when she's done with that conversation, hopefully we'll be able to get him added in.
Yeah.
Excellent.
One other thing, Debbie, would you be okay with being our co-chair tonight and reading the powers of the board and the agenda items when we get to that point?
Can you share the powers of the board? Because I don't have them memorized. I'll be happy to read them.
Yes, I will show them on the PowerPoint when we get to that.
Okay.
Debbie, if you had them memorized, I'd be so impressed.
Well, you know.
And I wouldn't put it past you.
Oh.
You've got that skill. Excellent. Well, thank you. I mean, we really do appreciate everyone's patience. Obviously, this is a challenging time to try to, continue with processes and procedures that were designed to be fully in person and in groups. So we really appreciate everyone's understanding.
We're fine on my end. This is Jim.
So before we get started, Zach, I just want to make sure it's Zach Wood, Randy Sprague, Debbie Solberg, BJ Popillo, and hopefully Tom Walsh.
Correct.
Correct.
Hey everyone, this is Mara Perry. I'm working with Tom. He's on the phone. We're trying to get him connected, and as soon as I get him connected, I'll move him over as a panelist.
Thank you.
I think I can work off of this one. I might run over it.
One thing I have learned during quarantine is that sometimes eliminating feedback can be helped by if everyone mutes themselves, if they're not actively speaking, that can help. But then I always forget to unmute myself when I start speaking. So if that happens, feel free to ask me if I've done that again. Tom Waltz, I see your name on the screen.
So you had Tom Waltz on. It's supposed to be playing through there as well.
Hey everyone, I've got Tom moved over. He's still trying to understand how to unmute himself. He sees the screen, so we're looking pretty good. Oh, nope, we lost him again. Hold on a second.
Awesome. And Mara, as the host, you may be able to control muting and unmuting folks.
You are correct. I can do that, except at a certain point I have to ask them to unmute. So it's more of an ask to unmute if they've muted themselves on purpose.
Right.
But it's okay. He got off again. He got kicked off again. He's getting back on. So hold on. Sorry,
Okay.
everyone.
No, understood. Thanks.
Okay, so
Undo that one.
wait, I'm going to start video. I don't want to start video.
Undo that. Okay.
Ooh.
Hey, Tom, we can hear you now. And I think the city has the videos paused.
So currently, Tom, you should just be seeing the Webster Groves Board of Adjustment PowerPoint title page, but we don't have panelist video on right now.
Okay, everyone. I've just gotten off with Tom. Tom is on. He knows how to unmute himself when you're ready to talk. So you have all of your members now if you want to go ahead and start the meeting.
Thanks, Mara. All right, so if Danny, if you're already in the room, we will go ahead and start, but let me know first.
We are ready.
Okay, excellent. So my name is Zach Wood. I am the chair of the board, and I would like to call to order the July 9th regular meeting of the City of Webster Groves Board of Adjustment. And we have as co-chair tonight is Debbie Sahlberg. Debbie, if you wouldn't mind, would you please call the roll?
Sure. BJ Papillo,
Here.
Randy Sprague,
Here.
Tom Walsh. Tom, you need to unmute.
I'm here.
Zach Wood
Present.
and Debbie Sahlberg is here.
Excellent. All right. It's lovely to hear everyone's voices. So just a brief overview of the procedures tonight. So the way that these applications work, there's a standard order of presentation that we follow. First, the city will present evidence and testimony with respect to the docket item. Then the applicant and anyone who's here to speak in favor of the applicant's application. And then those who are opposed to the application, if any, will have the same opportunity. And then once all of the interested parties have had the opportunity to present evidence and testimony with respect to the docket item and the two variances located therein, then the board will close the public session and open for board discussion and a decision. The proceedings are being recorded, so we do ask that you speak clearly and one at a time. We will vote on your application tonight for decision. Approval does take 4 out of 5 board members voting in favor. And we do ask that to the extent possible that we stay focused on the narrow issues that are relevant to the authorizing power that the board has. And now I would ask Debbie to read those powers that Danny has just put up on the screen. And just a brief explanation, this is the language in the city law that gives us, as the board, the power to authorize these variances. And so if a variance application does not meet the tests set out in this language, then the board has no authority to grant the variance. Debbie, whenever you're ready.
Powers relative to variations. When, by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific piece of property as of September 20th, 1956, or by reason of exceptional topographical conditions or other extraordinary or exceptional situation or condition of a specific piece of property, which condition is not generally prevalent in the neighborhood, the strict application of the area regulations of this zoning code would result in peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties to, or exceptional and undue hardship upon, the owner of such property. The board is hereby empowered to authorize upon an appeal relating to such property a variation from such strict application so as to relieve such difficulties or hardships.
Excellent. Thank you, Debbie. And if you wouldn't mind also reading our first and only case on the docket tonight.
Number 2333, a petition submitted by Jim Bolesky on behalf of Gary R. Williams as an application for variance from section 153.073, subsection C2 of the zoning code of the city of Webster Groves. The applicant is requesting, am I reading too much? The applicant is requesting a variance of 3.5 feet from the required 4.5 foot minimum required north side yard setback in order to construct an enclosed living space below an existing second story rear addition located 1 foot from the north side property line. The applicant is requesting a second variance of 1.67 feet from the required 4.5 foot minimum required north side setback in order to replace an existing front porch located 2.83 feet from the north side property line. The property is located at 408 Spring Avenue within the A4 7,500 square foot residence district.
Excellent. Thank you, Debbie. Would the city care to present exhibits or testimony with respect to this docket item?
This is Chuck Billings, the attorney on behalf of the city. Can you hear me all? You all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes.
You don't have a camera, so I have to make sure you hear me. First of all, on behalf of the city, each board member has received a packet that consists of 9 exhibits on behalf of the city. We would introduce those 9 exhibits and move the introduction into evidence to coordinate and to correlate with our live testimony that the city intends to present. So in the city, we would call as the first witness on behalf of the city of Webster Groves, city planner Danny Genduza, please.
This is Danny here.
Okay, would you state your name for the record, please?
Do I need to be sworn in first?
You should.
Yes. Yeah, just a moment. Thank you. So, Danny, if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to trust that you're raising your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Excellent. Please proceed.
Okay, we're just getting a technical upgrade. All right.
Ask if everyone can hear you.
Can everyone hear me? I'm going to talk away from the microphone.
Yeah, Danny, we can hear you actually better.
Yeah.
Better? Okay.
Okay,
Very good.
You've been duly sworn. State your name for the record, please.
This is Danny Genduza.
Are you employed by the city of Webster Groves?
Yes, I am.
In what capacity?
As planner,
What are your duties in that position, sir?
to administer and execute zoning regulations.
I'd like to refer you to the aerial vote. You already have it up. Through your work with the city, are you familiar with the property located at 408 Spring Avenue in the city of Webster Groves?
Yes, I am.
And is that indeed within the city?
Yes, it is.
In what zoning district within the city is this property located?
The property is in the A4 7,500 square foot residence district.
And you have received an application for a variance. What variance is requested by the applicant?
The applicant is requesting 2 variances. The first is a request of, the applicant is requesting 1 variance of 3.5 feet from the minimum required 4.5 foot north side yard setback in order to construct an enclosed living space below an existing second story rear addition, which is located 1 foot from the north side property line. The applicant is then requesting a second variance of 1.67 feet from the minimum required 4.5 foot north side yard setback in order to replace an existing front porch located 2.83 feet from the north side property line. There are two variances here. I'm going to present first on the details of the first variance request, and then open up for board questions. And then I'll go back to the second variance request to look at that as a separate matter to help keep them sort of clarified in board members' minds.
Okay, thank you. And for the board edification, what municipal code section is applied to this request?
It is section 53.073 subsection C2 in the A4 dimensional regulations on side yard setbacks. It states that the minimum side yard setback shall be established in the following manner: that residential structures existing as of September 20th, 1956, which are closer to the side property line than 6 feet, may be enlarged, provided any addition is no closer to the side property line than 10% of the lot width at the front yard setback.
Can you describe the existing conditions of the property relevant to the first variance request?
Yes, I can, and I'm going to go through a few slides to help describe. According to St. Louis County records, the existing residence was built in 1904. It is located on a legal non-conforming lot. It is considered legal non-conforming because the lot does not meet the minimum required dimensions for what would be required in the A4 zoning district today, but it was established in 1904 before the city zoning code was put in place. Today, the A4 district would require a minimum lot width of 60 feet at the front yard setback and an average lot width of 60 feet throughout, while the lot at 408 Spring is only 45 feet wide at the front yard setback and has an average lot width of also only about 45 feet throughout. Additionally, the house itself is considered a legal non-conforming structure because it was built only 1 foot from the north side lot line in 1904. Switching to the next slide. Sometime in the 1980s, a former property owner built a second story rear addition, which is located 1 foot from the north side property line in line with the rest of the house. Because our permit records only go back to the early 2000s and in some cases the 90s, staff was unable to find if there was a permit record from when the addition was built in the 80s. Until recently, the area underneath the second story addition, which is circled on the slide, was an open air patio.
Can you explain the first variance request?
The site plan shown on the presentation identifies that the applicant recently installed a screened porch to enclose the area underneath the 1980s non-conforming addition. This screened porch was added sometime in the past 9 months without a building permit. You can see on the slide the appearance of the area on the left prior to the installation of the screen porch, and on the right since the screen porch was installed. In May 2020, a city inspector identified that the screen porch had been built without a permit and informed the applicant that they needed to apply for a permit. Upon submitting the permit,
Excuse me, Danny, would you hold on for just one moment?
Sure.
Could everyone who's not Danny please mute themselves?
Well, I'm not going to.
All right, thanks, Danny. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
we'll see if that's better. So we have a photo of before the screen porch construction and then after on the right. The applicant submitted a building permit application, and city staff informed the applicant at that time that the screen porch had been built too close to the side property line, and new building plans would need to be submitted to either remove the porch structure or to rebuild it meeting a minimum 4.5 foot setback from the side property line. Here we see photos of the screen porch structure from the exterior. The photo on the upper right-hand side is the view from the north, closest to the north side property line. The applicant submitted this variance request in order to be able to keep the screen porch in its current location in line with the house, 1 foot from the north side property line. Are there any questions?
Yes, I had a question. So you're not sure if the living space addition that was built in the 80s was permitted or received a variance or not, because the records aren't complete?
We did not find a variance that was granted for that addition, but we could also not find whether there was a permit or not, or what the city decision was at that point.
Thank you.
Hearing no further questions,
Are there any other questions?
There's no questions for me. Do any of the other board members have questions?
Okay.
can you identify the second variance request?
The applicant is then requesting a second variance of 1.67 feet from the minimum required 4.5 foot north side yard setback in order to replace an existing front porch, which is located 2.83 feet from the north side property line.
Can you describe the existing conditions of the property relevant to the second variance request?
So shown above is a recent photo of the front elevation of the home, which includes the front porch. It's built in 1904. The existing residence was built 1 foot from the north side property line, with the front porch located about 3 feet from the side property line. The site plan shown identifies the front porch highlighted in yellow, which has recently been identified to actually be located, to have been located 2.83 feet from the north side property line.
And can you explain the second variance request, please?
Yes, in October 2019, city staff granted the applicant a permit to replace portions of the lower part of the front porch in its existing footprint. When reading the property lines on the survey, I identified that the existing porch appeared to be located 3 feet from the side property line. The city code allows uncovered porches, which are less than 3 feet in height above grade, to extend to be located up to 3 feet from the side property line. Because the work only included the replacement of the lower portions of the porch located less than 3 feet above grade, I approved the permit in error, believing it had been meeting the city zoning code requirements. After construction was underway, in response to a resident's concern about the front porch's distance from the north side property line, city staff requested an on-site measurement to clarify the front porch's actual setback distance. With actual on-site measurement, it turned out the porch was actually located 34 inches from the side property line rather than the originally understood 36 inches. To address the resident's concern, city staff recommended that the applicant apply for a variance to request permission to keep the front porch in its existing location, 34 inches from the side property line. In an abundance of caution, city staff further identified that a strict reading of the city code would require a covered front porch to actually meet a minimum side yard setback equal to an addition to the main house. Therefore, the applicant submitted this second variance request to be able to keep the front porch located 2.83 feet from the north side property line rather than at a 4.5 foot setback from the north side property line, which would be required by a strict reading of the city code.
And Mr. Chairman, upon that presentation of the evidence, the city would move the introduction into evidence was previously marked as packet for docket number 2333. And with the admission of those documents, the city would have no further evidence.
Excellent. Thank you very much. The board accepts the testimony and evidence presented by the city. Excellent. So at this point, do the board members have questions for Danny with respect to either of the requested variances?
The question I would have is who is the builder? They built out the screen porch that they both done.
I believe the homeowner was the contractor on the project. They built it themselves.
I don't have any further questions.
The front porch is being replaced in the same setback as the previous front porch. And is it the same dimensions as well?
Correct.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions from the board for Mr. Gendusa? All right, that sounds like a no. Okay, who is here to speak in favor of docket item 2333?
Jim Boleski.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
Good, good.
Excellent.
Can you see me?
I can, and you're seeing my wife's photo, not me.
I wonder who that was.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I had to use her computer, and so it, yeah, I didn't have time to change it, but yes. Would you, are you going to speak on behalf of the applicant, Jim?
I am.
Excellent. Okay. Would you mind raising your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Excellent. Thank you. Please proceed.
All right. My name's Jim Boleski. And Danny, that was awesome. Your description of previous transactions here. I guess I would like to just start out by, and we're going to talk about the back right now. We're going to start out, will we be speaking again on the front, or will I be covering both of them right now, the back and the front?
I would just cover the back at first and see if the board has questions, and then move on to the second, to the front as a separate item.
Very good. So it's my understanding that there's no records of the addition in the back being permitted or a variance, but who knows? Maybe there was one. Maybe we're just not seeing records of it. But in either event, like Danny pointed out, the exceptions here are the narrowness of this lot, and the topography slopes and drops off on the back side. Not to mention the position of the existing house being 1 foot from the north property line. The existing conditions also included this addition in the back was up on what looks like some 3.5-inch diameter steel post, not the most attractive exterior architecture holding this large mass up there. I happen to be an architect that has sat on the architecture review board for over 10 years. And I know in my experience, when we had a project that was elevated up off the ground, we were usually in favor of having it connected to the ground below. Even if it was a deck or something, we would frequently put like a lattice work or something just to kind of give it a good anchor. This particular house, the architecture of it could easily stand some improvement back there. It's a smaller house, 1,300 square feet, 24 feet wide. This area that's underneath and back there added some much needed living space for the homeowners, an outdoor room. And they simply proceeded with it with the idea that there was no structure involved or no electric or plumbing. And so they have since then obviously learned that a permit was still necessary and have since followed up in an effort to get the permit. Since it is an enclosure, just a lot of people don't understand that sort of thing. But the existing conditions, not only was it open underneath this area in the back, there was also a concrete slab there where the post came down and sat on it. And that too was 1 feet from the north property line. So as you can see from the photographs, they've enclosed it to use it as a screened-in porch. It did not, this improvement does not violate any site coverage requirements or any other, there's no other code violations other than the fact that it extends into the north building setback line, which is 4.5 feet. So the request here is for a 3.5 foot variance. This enclosure also provides the homeowners and the adjacent homeowners privacy in a situation where, you know, they are close, and having a screened in wall or a wall there allows each homeowner the privacy that I think is a positive thing. I think on that note, so the hardship really is the position of the existing house. If it wasn't over there, we wouldn't have this problem. So I think at this point, if there are any questions regarding the back, I'd like to take those now, if that's okay.
Jim, this is Zach. No questions from me, but I want to give the other board members their opportunity.
This is Danny Gendusa. I did want to add just a couple of items. So I did want to verify, we did not have a variance from the construction of the addition. We have records for all the variances that have been issued in the city, and we did not have a variance for that addition. One thing that I had forgotten to mention in the presentation, which I had discussed with the applicants earlier in the week or last week, that the north side of the screen porch, because it is located within 3 feet of the side property line, our building commissioner determined that should the applicant be approved for the variance, they would need to fire rate that wall of the screen porch addition on the north side, everywhere where it is within 3 feet of the north side property line. And that was discussed with the architect and relayed to the applicant. I just wanted to also put that as information for consideration to the board.
Thank you very much, Danny.
And speaking for the homeowner, we are understanding of that requirement. Simply, it's a code issue, a building code issue, where we can't have buildings too close together. There needs to be roughly 10 feet between buildings. And since we run the risk of not having that here, we're willing to conform to that requirement.
I had a question, since I don't have the benefit of the photographs at this minute. There's no door opening on that north side, correct? The door opening is towards the backyard, right?
Correct. In fact, the door opening is on the opposite side, the south side.
Okay, okay, so it's on the south side where there's no variance issue.
Right.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any further questions from the board with respect to the rear screened-in porch variance request? Okay. All right. Well, that sounds like a no. So unless someone speaks up before you start talking, Jim, please move to the front porch.
Okay. You know, I didn't say this at first, but I know we got a slow start, but I've seen a few of these meetings, and Danny, I just want to say, you know, I thought you did a great job of presenting this in the beginning. I really strongly feel that way, and thanks board members for your service here. The front porch is the original historic porch on this building. And as you could see, the bottom has been replaced due to the fact that it rotted away. These old wooden porches just don't last that long, and eventually they have to be rebuilt. And in this particular instance, the roof structure was retained. And not to get all mixed up in the 1.67 numbers and all that stuff, you all remember seeing that tape measure up there. That was 22 inches over to the bulkhead of the roof right there. And the floor and the columns all will be directly below where that roof was at. There's just no changing that. So the existing front porch, the reconstruction of the existing front porch is just really, these guys look at it more as a maintenance item. And as Danny said, since we were going before the board here, we felt quite comfortable adding this to our agenda. So that's strictly to reconstruct the existing non-conforming historical original porch. That's about all I got to say there. I think it's quite clear. And if there are any questions, I'd be glad to help answer.
Jim, I just have one. You said something that I want to make sure I understood. So you said that you called out with the picture of the tape measure and the location of the existing bulkhead. And so I infer from that, from what you said, that there would be a structural issue with seating the posts and the floor out of square, right, with that. But I'm not an architect.
Right. I mean, that's the beam, that the existing roof beam and structure overhead, and straight down from there is where we're building the floor, and the post comes down in the front corner. So it's going back exactly like it was.
Yeah.
It'll be new and much prettier.
Okay. So yeah, it sounds like it would be it would be adverse to the structural integrity of what was there prior to the removal of the floor that was in disrepair. If you had to somehow carry the load of that bulkhead not directly below it. That's what I'm understanding from what you're saying, but I just want to confirm that with you.
Absolutely. Structurally and aesthetically, it's not in the spirit of Webster Groves to do it any differently.
Thanks, Jim. No further questions from me on this one. Thanks, BJ. Anyone on the Zoom call on the board have any questions for Jim with respect to the front porch? Okay, that sounds like a no. Okay, well, thank you very much, Jim. I will ask if there is anyone else here who would like to speak in favor of, actually, let me ask you this, Danny, since you're in the room and in charge, Do we have anyone else other than the board members, city staff, city attorney, and the Jim, who's here to speak in favor of the applicant?
We do not have anybody else at City Hall
Okay.
to speak on behalf or against the proposal. One thing I would remind, just in case everybody to have their video turned on their own personal computers. I can't see everybody on this screen, but that doesn't mean that it may just be a slow feed here. Just wanted to remind everyone to turn their video on if it's not already.
I'm getting a message when I try to turn my video on that says the host has paused it.
Same. So while you're sorting that out, Danny, I just want to call out for the record that we do want to make the offer that if anyone has rushed into City Hall or joined the Zoom call, I'm not seeing anyone added to the participant list, but we do want to make sure that anyone has the opportunity to speak in favor of the docket item if there are any present. That sounds like a no. And then same opportunity, if there is anyone here in City Hall or on the call who would like to speak in opposition to the docket item, this is your opportunity.
For the record, there's nobody here in City Hall.
Thanks. Thanks, BJ. I wanted to just make sure we have everything clear on the record since we're doing this in a little bit of a different fashion.
Hello, everyone. This is Mara Perry. I did fix it so that you could, we could see you.
Excellent. Thanks, Mara. Hey, Debbie. Nice to see your face. Okay, having confirmed that there are no additional parties who would like to speak either in favor of or in opposition to the application, I would move, or I would entertain a motion to move to close the public session and move to board discussion and decision.
Okay.
So moved.
Excellent. So sounds like we've moved, and did someone second? I'll second it, Debbie. So I think we should probably just call the roll since we don't have everyone's video, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. Randy Sprague.
I'm present.
Well, so you're saying yes to the
Yes.
closing? Okay. Tom Waltz.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Zach Wood.
Yes.
BJ Papillo.
Here.
And Debbie Sahlberg, yes.
Excellent. Okay, so the
Danny?
board.
Sorry, Danny, if you want to ask BJ to move over more to a middle seat, you'd be able to turn the screen so that BJ could be part of this executive session while you all are talking.
And what I'll do, I'll just move to the back and let BJ take my seat.
That sounds perfect. Thank you.
Excellent. Lovely. Okay, so the public session is closed. So board members, what do y'all think?
Well, I think that we have a narrow lot. We have a house that is placed that doesn't meet the setback. Setting aside the 40-year-old building addition, which may or may not have been permitted, I believe that this is a reasonable request. They're not extending further into the setback. In fact, we already have, and they're not. And there's no door on that side, so the activity along the north side won't be increased. I think it does, and I'm still talking about the first request, and I think this is a reasonable request, and I'm inclined to vote yes.
Excellent.
The only concern I have is they didn't pull a permit and they're not up to fire code. So I would be inclined to table it until they actually get into line with the fire code.
Well, I think, won't they have to do that before the stop work order is lifted?
Yes. The fire code compliance is really not for the board, but as Mr. points out quite correctly, one is a separate requirement than the other. You're here just to do the setbacks and the variances as to the property.
the officials of Webster Groves will not permit the building to be built without a architectural submission as to the fire code issue.
Okay. And that was actually my concern. I would echo Debbie's view, but with the proviso that the fire requirements need to be met. But I think in terms of the exceptional narrowness of the lot and the lay of the land, I think it's a very reasonable addition in the back.
I do too.
And I would agree with that too. And this fire code wall, the city's always taken care of that as they proceed with the applicant.
Excellent. So it sounds like, if I can sort of summarize what I'm hearing, and I'll add my thoughts to it, that with respect to the authorizing language, that certainly we have here an exceptional narrowness of the specific piece of property as of September 20th, 1956. And it sounds like we also have identified an extraordinary or exceptional situation with respect to the siting of the house 1 foot from the already narrow, exceptionally narrow width of the lot. So, that is not generally prevalent in the neighborhood, that locating the house within 1 foot of the property line. And it sounds like we're all of the mind that these factors that meet the first parts of the test do give rise to peculiar or exceptional practical difficulties at a minimum. And so I think that gives us what we need to authorize the variance. And I would move that, I would say, Danny, and I'm just trying to think through this. Do we want to vote on the first request before we move on to discussion of the second?
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that although it's one application, it's 2 separate variances.
Correct.
And I would suggest that the board vote on each variance separately, starting with the rear variance as it was presented in the record today.
Correct. And I was just asking if we wanted to conclude all of our discussion with respect to each variance request before voting on both items, or if we wanted to vote on them, discussion, vote.
Either way, Mr. Chairman, either way you want to do it.
I would suggest we vote on the setback toward the rear of the house, the addition.
Excellent.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the setback for the rear addition for docket number 2333.
And I'll second it.
You both beat me to it.
There you go.
Excellent. All right, so we have a motion to approve the first variance with respect to the enclosed screen porch on the rear of the property with respect to docket item 2333. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Debbie, would you please call the roll?
Randy Sprague.
Aye.
Tom Waltz.
Aye.
BJ Papillo.
Abstain.
Zach Wood.
Aye.
Debbie Solberg. I vote aye.
Excellent. Okay. With respect to the second variance request, the front porch, in my opinion, we still obviously have the first 2 portions of the test met, that we have an exceptionally narrow lot and we have this exceptional situation of locating 1 foot from the property line. And as I raised in my question to Jim, I think, the engineering problems, the structural difficulties that would come from trying to carry that load, just from replacing, the existing porch, would be a peculiar or exceptional practical difficulty.
I agree.
Oh, pardon me. Go ahead.
Excuse me.
I think it's a completely reasonable request.
No, and I would agree. I mean, I think based upon the fact that this is replacing an existing structure, plus the fact that it lends itself to the structural integrity of the structure itself, it's very difficult not to see this as a proper decision.
There was an objection by a neighbor, if I read my papers, and I didn't understand the nature of the objection. So I didn't see any reason for it. I'm in complete agreement with what you folks have stated. This is a reasonable thing, replacing an existing porch, not adding to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tom, you're absolutely right. The in the evidence that's been admitted to the record, we do have some statements to the effect of a neighbor sort of inquiring, right, about the need for the variance, and I think that's what gave rise to the amending of the application. I guess before it was submitted for public publication.
That's what I figured.
Yeah. So, and that's part of why I wanted to be very clear in asking if we had anyone else who wanted to speak in favor or in opposition, because, raising an objection and, to the city and coming to the board meeting to express what you feel is your right. And it sounds like they didn't feel strongly enough or were not able to attend. And
yeah,
I don't know that changes anything with respect to our analysis of our limited authority.
Board members, sorry, this is Mara Perry. I just wanted to let you know the neighbor was unable to come this evening due to a medical issue.
Oh.
He did specifically ask about options. I gave him some options. He asked if it could be postponed. I told him it could not be postponed. He would have some options to send someone else, but do know that the neighbor still was very concerned. And I can't represent him.
Sure.
And I let him know I could not represent him, but I did speak with him again today.
Thank you, Mara. That's helpful. And I'll just say that, as members of the board, we all have the privilege of being neighbors in this community. And I think it's part of why we serve on the board to help, fill that role. So I think that I can understand the concern. For me, the core of being on this board is really the recognition that we have a really limited purview of authority, and the neighbor's concern is valid and it has been raised. And, there is no, sort of neighbor proviso. If we don't, if it meets the test, it meets the test. And I think that's where the board has, authority to grant the variance and the discretion to consider whether it's reasonable. And I feel that it is reasonable.
So for the record, I would say this is a 1904 house, and it probably does need some repair. So I think this is a perfectly reasonable request.
And I agree with that. No, we're not making a bigger porch. We're really pretty much duplicating the original look. I think very reasonable. I agree with what's been said.
I'd have more problems if they were doing something odd to the porch and narrowing it or changing the way it works with the house than the fact that the porch itself does not meet the 4.5-foot setback. Because like I said, the house doesn't meet the 4.5-foot setback.
It seems the house is the house, and this is basically replacing the existing structure. It's very hard for me to object to that, given that they're just really putting it back. They're repairing. That's not a radical change.
No.
And I think, Randy, what you're saying gets to the heart of the, what I hone in on in terms of peculiar or exceptional practical difficulties. To be unable, what is the alternative? You allow the floor to rot, and then the roof will, the covered portion of the porch will collapse, and then we'll be here anyway. So, to me, it is a peculiar or exceptional practical difficulty to be unable to maintain the structure.
I would agree.
So Mr.
Motion, go ahead and approve this.
Here's what I would do is I will make a motion to approve the variance for the front porch of docket item 2333.
I second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the second variance request within docket item 2333, the variance request pertaining to the front yard and the side yard setback related thereto. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any abstain? Any opposed? Okay, excellent. Debbie, would you call the roll?
Zach Wood,
Aye.
BJ Papillo,
Aye.
Randy Sprague,
Aye.
Debbie Solberg votes aye. Tom Waltz.
Aye.
All right, excellent. So Jim, if you can hopefully still hear us, we are happy to tell you that your application has been approved with respect to both variance requests, and you may follow up with city staff during regular business hours for your next steps. Thank you very much for the clarity and thoroughness of your application. All right. Are there any other docket items or other business before the board this evening?
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, if the record to reflect that this meeting was conducted as a video conference pursuant to the Open Records Law 621 of the statutes of Missouri, and that it was recorded in conformity with the appropriate regulations of the Open Meetings Law. That's it.
I appreciate that. And I will add, just for belt and suspenders, that I am personally familiar with and recognize each of my fellow board members on the video screen, as well as the city staff and city attorney. So thank you all very much for doing this.
Thank you to city staff for doing this as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I will apologize. I was unsure whether it was on or off there for a while. So,
hey, Tom, wait, it's great to see your face no matter
yeah,
what.
you got a good haircut there, Mr. Chairman.
You know, this is a couple of weeks of letting it grow back out.
Actually, I thought the anticipation of your joining us was worth the wait.
Okay, good. I was in, and then I probably did it right the first time.
Who knows?
Hey, Mara.
Hi, Mara.
Okay, we will, let's go ahead and, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, so board chair.
Hey,
will-
Zach, one final thought. One of the
yes,
things that I think threw me was I didn't have a password, and then I was given one. So,
Yes.
you know,
I shot Danny a quick email about that, asking him for the password as well. I think if, Mara, Danny, if you have the password and can include it next time in addition to the link, that's great. But yeah, the link is, I did the exact same thing.
well, and I've been Zooming in some other situations, and I haven't needed it recently. I just went, put the meeting ID in, and boink, I was there.
Well, you know, it's Mara and her, you know, her mass genius over there.
Well, I am definitely not faulting anybody. I
Yes.
have a tendency to blame myself. At any rate, it's good to see everybody.
Same. Absolutely.
Thank
Okay,
you all.
we will adjourn the
Can you
meeting.
approve
Thanks,
that
everyone.
motion to adjourn?
Did you
Yes.
approve the motion to adjourn?
Yes, we had a motion to adjourn
Right. But
and
we
a second.
vote on it.
Did you vote on it yet?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that, I'm gonna call it a unanimous roll call, or not roll call, but voice vote. I saw everyone say yes. All
Very
right,
good.
thanks, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Be safe.
Okay.
Bye, all.
Sorry, so formal.